Hi, welcome to the Bark Night Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on the world of film and TV through news, reviews, and in-depth discussions. Today's episode is Sci-Fi Classics Volume 2, Blade Runner Double Feature. The idea for this series came from Paul's ongoing love and passion for the genre, and Dan not seeing what I consider some essential classics of the genre. So today's episode is all about discussing those science fiction classics that were the building blocks of the genre. Be sure to follow, like, or leave a rating wherever you're watching or listening. It helps keep the reels turning. So let's kick it off with Blade Runner.
Yes, sir.
So Blade Runner, a classic science fiction. It's from 1982. It's directed by Ridley Scott. So, Dan, you want to kick us off here?
Sure, yeah. Love to. So I missed this movie. It's one of those ones where many times I was told I need to watch it. For whatever reason, like my brain's just like, I'll get to it. And I just put it off. I'm pretty sure I saw the right version. I saw the version with the voiceover. That's the right one to start with, right? Right? Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't have started with the one with the voiceover, but...
No, okay. Which one are you supposed to start with?
Yeah, I usually go Final Cut if I'm recommending it to somebody. I think you watched probably the theatrical release, which is fine.
All right. Well, if I did it the right way, then.
Did you only watch the theatrical then?
Yeah, only theatrical release then. So I might be in the dark about some things then. But yeah.
Well, it's not that different.
I liked it. I really had a good time with it. I thought the ideas it brought up were very much still things today. The idea of AI, what it means to be human, how you find your place in a world full of technology where you don't really, maybe understand fully the different roles and how everything's separated out. As you said, obviously, it's an absolute classic, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really enjoyed another Harrison Ford movie, and I wish I would have seen it. I feel like I said that with Close Encounters too. This is another one that I think I should have seen earlier. Like it's on me that it took me this long to see it.
Yeah, it's very good. What did you watch it on? Did you watch it streaming, DVD, 4K?
Blu-ray, just a Blu-ray.
Okay, cool.
I got a Blu-ray 2-pack for it in 2049.
Yeah. So I remember with the first time I saw this movie, I didn't see it for a long time either, but a guy I used to work with, Roger, that you know, Dan, he had recommended it for me, and there was a period of my life where I would watch this thing all the time. Okay. And so I own the DVD of it that had all three versions of it on it.
That's cool.
And that was really cool because there's three versions of the movie. Right. And so there's the theatrical cut, which the main difference is that, it's got a different ending. So it doesn't necessarily change the movie. Like it's not like people die in this ending that don't die in the other or anything like that. But it's I guess your version has a little bit more of a upbeat ending, where the version we watched is more of an ambiguous ending.
Okay. It's
also got the voiceover, so that was put in after the fact. A little bit of background of this movie is that after Ridley Scott finished shooting everything, shortly afterwards, the studio took control of everything and basically made their own movie.
As they like to do sometimes.
And they ended up bringing him back in at a certain point because I think they just figured out that they couldn't do it without him. But they had strict control over it. They were like, hey, if you're coming in, you're listening and doing what we tell you to do. So that meant changing the ending. A lot of that footage that you see in the ending there is from The Shining. So unused footage that Stanley Kubrick brought in. And he was like, you can't use anything that I used in the movie itself, but a lot of those are from the intro scene where the camera's going through the hills. But they famously made Harrison Ford read that voiceover, and it's like the voiceover's not good. And there were points where Ridley Scott was thinking about doing a voiceover, but more so to highlight the noir feel of the movie and to just talk about how he's feeling as certain scenes progress and how he's feeling about killing replicants and everything that's happening,
It's funny. Yeah, I didn't. Well, you can kind of tell that the voiceover does sound kind of like he's got a gun to his head. He doesn't want to do it. But it does have a 1950s noir copper kind of movie, feel to it with that in there, which I kind of dug. But I guess when you say it like that, it does sound like he was very much annoyed that he had to do the whole voiceover.
Yeah, this is I've seen this movie probably more than I probably have seen a lot of other movies. I love this movie. I think I've fallen out of love with it more and more as I've gotten older. I like 2049 more than I like this movie by like a magnitude of 2 or 3. Like, I think 2049 does something a little bit more exciting. But anyway, I think this is just so Ridley Scott. Like, he's coming off of Alien. He's bringing that vibe to Earth and in a weird sort of Philip K. Dick universe. And it's just like gripping. And also there's so much environmental storytelling. And I think this is the movie that just sets up environmental storytelling for me. Anytime I think of any movie that tells the story just through things that are happening, it's this. Just beautiful backgrounds, weird things that are going on. There's that whole sequence in the book where they're talking about Mars. In the movie, it's just a real quick blip, but it still establishes the same sort of tension and weirdness that's going on. I think Harrison Ford does a great job in this. I cannot see Dustin Hoffman as this character. That was one of the things where Dustin Hoffman was considered for Harrison Ford's role, and like, oh, that would have been awful. But yeah, it's a really good movie.
You said something about Mars, right? There was an uprising, right, of replicants on Mars that kind of like led to them being banned, and that's why Harrison Ford's Blade Runner is going around and retiring, quotation marks, the replicants. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I got that.
And there's also a thing that's going on in Mars where they're like colonizing Mars, and it's an artificial world, right? Like it's an extension of the argument of, you know, what does it mean to be human and what does it mean to be moral in a world where like everything's kind of decaying and rotting. And then there's a world where people are leaving Earth to go to Mars, which is an artificial world. And there's that whole tension that's happening there. And that's just briefly touched upon in this movie, but it plays such a huge pivotal role in it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really picked up on very quickly is that they really are trying to establish so much of this world over the course of this movie. And it's a really complex story. The background is complex, the lore, like everything that they're hinting at that's happening throughout these, and they're talking about history that led to that, and that's why I get it from that perspective of it, why the studio would feel that way, that like they needed to do the voiceover to explain some of these things. Like, totally. I get it. I think that aspect of it, I don't think the voiceover is going to make a difference in the end for anybody, because it's just, you're either going to like it or you're not, I think is the thing. And I mean, a lot of people can get sort of like, when you go into something like this and they're building so much in front of your eyes, it can be sort of overwhelming, and spending so much time trying to process all of that's happening, sometimes that's a lot for a first viewing of a movie. And that's why, you know, 50 years later, where we're talking about it still, because it might not be as palatable the first time you see it, or the first time audiences saw it in 1982. But as you get a chance to really, really dig into the lore of it, there's a lot to explore there. And, you know, all those themes you were talking about too, you know, exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that there's the first review of classic sci-fi movies we did, we had Close Encounters of the Third Kind that had 3 cuts too, but I think that was different reasons. It's just kind of a funny little thing. But I completely agree with you, and I understand. And like you said, 1982, they build this world that Ridley Scott created, this cyberpunk, I guess, just kind of world. And it's really amazing what he did. Yeah, I thought it was great, and unfortunately, I think Paul touched on it a little bit, and we'll get to it in a second. But the next movie just kind of immediately pushed this one aside for me, but I did enjoy it. I did have a good time with it.
Yeah, it's a weird movie too. It came out the same summer as E.T. And so you're thinking about like Spielberg. That's one of Spielberg's like classic movies. E.T. is a science fiction movie that is so positive in its message. I feel like it's like, you know, here is this little alien that brings a family together, and like, how can we like be more human and be more connected, all that different kind of stuff. Blade Runner is the exact opposite. It is a dystopian world where there's very little hope and very little clarity. Everything's always black and very not black and white. And so it makes sense to me. Like, you release E.T. the same summer as Blade Runner. Of course, Blade Runner isn't going to do as well, because I don't think people were ready for this. They weren't ready for this bleak dystopian world view of, and also, Alien is a movie in which it was marketed as it's horror. It's a horror science fiction movie. How do you market this movie when there's nothing else to market against it? What you're saying, like, it's a science fiction movie unlike anything you've ever seen. Yeah, but that doesn't really help to prepare you for what you're seeing. And so it's pretty clear to me, like, this is way ahead of its time, and no wonder it kind of bombed in the box office. It didn't bomb. It still made its money back, but it wasn't like a cultural hit. And it grew over time. But man, that's really tough to come out the same summer as E.T.
Well, and so it's not just the same summer, it's the same weekend.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's not just E.T. So E.T. came out the week before, but was like a phenomenon. This weekend, Blade Runner and The Thing came out.
Yeah,
there you go.
And
that's nuts.
E.T. was still just, rolling over everybody.
Yeah.
So June 11th, E.T. came out. June 25th, Blade Runner and The Thing dropped, and they didn't do very much.
They both got ran over.
Less.
Yeah, Thing got buried in that situation. But yeah, like as Paul said, you got a movie about this little boy, this cute alien friend. They're pals trying to make it. Or you got a movie that asks you, what is human? Yeah, like what are you going to take your kids to go see?
Yeah, it's also like this isn't the Harrison Ford movie that you would go see on a blockbuster summer. No. Right? Like, it's not Han Solo, like, being dashing. Yeah. It's not Indiana Jones, like, jumping around, doing his thing. Even in the 90s, it's not Harrison Ford being in The Witness or The Fugitive. I mean, yeah, like, it's not that kind of stuff. It is a really dark version of Harrison Ford. And there's a part where, I always think the scene that I think of when I think of Harrison Ford in this movie is when his fingers get broken and he's fighting. And he's just like in such pain. He's just like bumbling around. That is Harrison Ford in this movie. He's just like not coordinated. He's doing the best that he can. He's not exceptional. He's not like not awful, but he's just like bumbling around in this world where nothing is really helping him. And he's not lucky as he is in Indiana Jones and in Star Wars. He's just, the luck isn't there for him, and he's just not doing great. And it's a hard character to watch and be like, yeah, I want to be this person. You don't want to be this person. I feel sympathy for him, but also at the same time, I'm like, man, just put it away. Like, retire.
Well, and that whole climax there it's very just interesting, the choices that they made to do that, where he's not fighting him. He's just chasing him through the house.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then across the rooftops. So it's very, at like every turn, sort of subverting your expectations as to what you would expect out of a movie like this. And what's interesting, too, is I had read that the original sort of like final showdown that was going to happen there was going to be like a kung fu fight, basically, between the two guys. And what's his name? Rutger Hauer had actually... he talked to Ridley Scott and was like, this isn't the climax to this movie. Like, neither of us knows how to do kung fu, so it's just going to look silly. So he pitched the whole idea of how they run that whole finale there, and Ridley Scott was just like, yeah, let's do that.
Now, is it any different from what I saw? So what I saw, I'll be vague about it, but basically the Roy Batty character,
just tell us. I don't think anybody's going to watch this episode if they haven't seen the movie.
All right, so the Roy Batty character, the Rutger Hauer character.
So spoiler alert.
Spoiler. The Rutger Hauer character, Roy Batty, I believe his name was. If I'm wrong about that, correct me.
Yes, that's his name.
Basically, they get down to this final showdown, and Rutger Hauer just kind of plays with him. Like, he's not actually going after him. Like, he's just trying, because he's a replicant. His lifespan, I don't know, is ending. So there's parts where he's locking up and his hands aren't working right. And I think he wants Harrison Ford's character to retire him, but he's not going to just let him do it. Like, he's making him work for it. And it's just such a really good scene. Like, that's my favorite scene in the whole movie, was like Rutger Hauer's character in that warehouse, just chasing him around, just trying to make him you gotta be better than that, stuff like that, like just trying to like goad him into basically finishing him off. And yeah, that seems great in the movie. But is it like that? Is that how all of them go?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm pretty sure all of that is unchanged through each version.
I really like that. I thought that was great.
It's terrifying
It is,
too.
yeah.
Like it's a scary scene. When I first watched it, I was like, "Oh man, that's really nuts."
When he shoves his head through the wall, and it's just it's really cool.
It's great.
Yeah.
Or when he has this he puts that rod through his hand, and he's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had a theory about the end of that where he's watching it, and I don't think I think it's clear that he's not trying to kill him, but I think that he's really just playing with him because he wants Deckard to feel all of these emotions. Like, he wants to make sure he's feeling fear. He's feeling relief. He wants to make sure he's feeling alive in those moments. And he knows he's about to die, no matter what happens in this fight, in this showdown. And I think he just wants somebody to witness it. Right. And he knows that if he kills Deckard here, he's going to die alone, essentially. Yeah, so he wants him to just witness his final moments. And so he chases him around, and then he has, that final monologue that he gives where he's talking about what he's witnessed and what he's seen that led him to this point. And all of that was improvised too.
Really?
Not all of it, but most of it. Specifically his final line there about, what does he say? Like, all of these moments will be lost like tears in rain. Yeah, that line specifically is one that everybody calls out of being one of the most memorable lines of the movie. That's Rutger Hauer that made that line.
It's awesome because, he's talking about how when he leaves this world, the memories and stuff he has are going to go away. And like you just said, tears in the rain, because you can't see tears in the rain because it's just rain. And you're like, it just all blends together. Yeah. In case people at home didn't know that, that's how it works. But
see, the thing about tears and rain is when they mix together, you can't get them apart again.
Water. You can't see. But it's a really cool. I didn't know he improvised that, because that's perfect. It's so good.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
It's like a weird. Ridley Scott and Harrison Ford were like infamously at odds in this whole making of this movie, and I am so glad that Ridley Scott kind of won most of the time in this, because I'm also really glad that they were at odds in this movie, because it's a different Harrison Ford performance in this. Yeah. He is like not pissed off, but reticent to do anything heroic this whole movie. And it feels like because they were at odds, like Harrison Ford just isn't willing to go the extra mile and like jump or like do whatever. And so you just see this like weird version of Harrison Ford in this movie that you really don't see in any of the other movies afterwards anywhere. It's a really good example of like when a director and an actor are at odds, it brings out the best of both of them.
The final scene we're talking about, like just how, I don't want to say Bugs Bunny Rutger Hauer is, but there's moments where like he's like kind of over the top, and Harrison Ford is just like, oh, whatever, man, just leave me be, kind of.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed about Harrison Ford as an actor is that even when he's doing his most action hero, he always still seems like a regular guy. Sure.
Yes.
Even when he's doing The Fugitive, he looks like your buddy's dad doing The Fugitive.
Your teacher.
Yeah. He never looks like Chris Hemsworth.
Exactly.
Or Arnold Schwarzenegger or anybody like that. Like it's always believable that he can get beaten at any time.
Exactly. One of my favorite things about this movie is the interactions between him and Edward James Olmos. Yeah. And Edward James Olmos is just a phenomenal actor. We were just talking about Battlestar Galactica earlier, but like he is so great in this movie, and the lines that he delivers and the ways that he delivers it is just it's just great. I just love the interactions between the two of them and how it's just so weird, I think is the word that I want to use for it. It's weird and it's great. Yeah, I love it. I wish I could do his voice.
Oh, yeah, I can't.
Edward James Olmos. Yeah.
Edward James Olmos from Predator 2, I believe. His best role.
What'd you say?
Edward James Olmos from Predator 2, I believe, right? Is he the guy, the Danny from Predator 2, right? Or am I wrong about that?
The other police officer? No, that's Ruben Blades.
Oh, my bad. Put that out.
No, Edward James Olmos from Battlestar Galactica and from
Dexter.
Selena he was in too.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's just me being stupid. Sorry about that. I was hoping I could pull out a fun little Easter egg there, but I didn't. That's all right. You gotta try sometimes.
I got no Easter eggs.
It happens.
I'm a big fan of his too, and it's really interesting to see him here like young.
Yeah.
I was going to bring it up in the next one, but I'll just bring it up now. I'm very glad they brought him back for the
Me
sequel.
too.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Even if it's just a very brief like turn, yeah, I really enjoyed that too. I really do think like the way that he's dressed in the original in Blade Runner and the way that he just moves about and like kind of partners with Deckard, like the costumes are iconic in this movie, but I think the way that they play off of each other in terms of Deckard's got this like awesome trench coat and he looks like he's like, I'm a private detective, and like I can't think of his name. Is it Gaff or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
He is just like, he's dressed to the nines. He's got like a cool hat on and like he looks great, but very different from Harrison Ford's character.
Yeah. His final line there too. It's too bad she won't live.
Mhm.
Then again, who does?
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes say that in my head. Like, but then again, who does? Yeah.
I love movies for
It's
that.
such an interesting line too, because you could read so many different ways onto what that means, right?
Yeah. I think that's the thing that I really love about Blade Runner is that it is a very ambiguous movie. There's a ton of things and meanings and hidden things that you just don't see until you watch it over and over again, and it sticks with you. It is the chewing gum of science fiction movies for me. It's just stuck all the time in the top of your mouth. You're just constantly thinking about it and like, what does this mean? Why did he do it this way? Why did he take out the unicorn and then put it back in the final cut? Like, why did he do that? Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah. I forgot about that, and that was one of the things there too.
Unicorn?
Yeah, there's
Dan
a
didn't
scene
see
where
the
it's just
unicorn.
like,
Little paper mache unicorn, I think I saw it somewhere. I don't know if I saw it in the actual movie I saw or just like in the zeitgeist of the world of this movie being around.
in
You
the
know, it's
theatrical
a
cut,
memory, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In the theatrical cut, there's like a memory of like a unicorn. And then,
Like running through a forest.
yeah, and later on when Gaff drops the unicorn origami at the door, it's
that's
supposed to
word.
like symbolize he's like, well, I actually am a replicant. In the director's cut, he takes away that. And so everybody's thinking like, oh, maybe he's not a replicant. And then in the final cut, he brings it back in. And so even Ridley Scott is just like playing with you as you watch those three movies. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if that's because he was kind of on the fence as
I
to
think
whether
so.
it was too, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something I didn't pick up on the first time I saw this movie, that it was possible that Deckard was a replicant the whole time. I don't know if you picked up on that, Dan, but they lay the groundwork there that Deckard could be a replicant too.
It's one of those things where even without seeing the movie, it just was kind of out there, you know? One of those things like, is he a replicant? Is he not a replicant? Like the term replicant, I knew before seeing this movie. It's just part of pop culture. I knew that was part of it going into it. So I was paying attention to it.
Well, Harrison Ford didn't play the role as if he was a replicant because he didn't know any of that stuff was going to be in there.
Right.
And he knew the question was out there. And he said that from his conversations with Ridley Scott and Rutger Hauer was that Deckard was human, Roy Batty was replicant, and that was it. But then when he saw the movie, Ridley Scott had laid all these little clues in there that he might not be, and apparently Harrison Ford was not happy about that. But
Yeah.
that's crazy.
just another thing to add to the list. And that's another thing he's been asked about over the years, and people will be like, so is he a replicant or not? And Harrison Ford will be like, I don't care.
That's a very good Harrison Ford, Pat. I like that. He just doesn't care about your questions. Never has.
Who gives a shit? It's like, it's really, that's it.
Between that and who shot first,
yeah.
he's very.
No.
Those are his two least favorite questions.
I like to just ask
Yeah.
him those, like face to face.
Can you imagine getting punched by Harrison Ford?
It has to.
Like, it's like,
He'd have to.
it's better than an Academy Award.
He'd have to throw it like he does in the movies, though, where he like pulls back and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's the thing about his punches too. Like he's never seemed like he has realistic punches, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it seems like something he's never worked on
No.
is perfecting his punches. You know,
They like throw a punch. Like,
Yeah.
okay. I've done this for 50 years. I'm not gonna change now.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it'll particularly hurt you that much to get punched by him.
The
Like
sound
it
effect.
will, but like it won't like break your jaw or some people like you're like, oh, if I got punched by that guy, there's a good chance I die.
Right.
Sometimes in movies when you watch it, it's like, oh, get hit by that guy the right way, you're liable to not make it out of it.
Right.
Harrison Ford, you'll make it out of it. You might have to throw some ice on your jaw or something, but you won't die.
Yeah, it's not like Alan Richardson's hitting you or something. Like it's
Alan Richardson.
the guy from Reacher.
I swear I thought you said Alan
Reacher.
Rickman.
Oh, geez.
I was
You don't
like,
want that either.
yeah.
You don't want that either.
Alan Rickman hitting me too. I just swear.
You don't want that. You don't want that kind of smoke.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Good.
One thing that I really, really like about these movies, though, and actually, I'll tell you, I'm listening to it right now in the background, so you guys can't hear it. The audience can't hear it, but I can hear it, is I have the score to this movie going.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the score for each one is so good.
Yes. Very different, in my opinion.
Different.
Very, very different. And very of its time, and still feels like part of the same sort of conversation. Like, unlike how we just talked about Tron, like this definitely feels like a conversation between those two scores too.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, like the way they both kind of pick at other cultures. They both kind of pick at like older music. Like in 2049, you've got the Elvis that's put in there, and that's kind of there because of the movie itself. But I bet that was a conversation between Hans Zimmer and him too on how they utilized that best. Because I know Denis Villeneuve in the sequel did bounce between a bunch of different options for that music. But I listened to the score to this one fairly often.
Me too.
And I mean, to match the movie itself, it's so different than anything else out there.
Yeah. It feels to me like an ambient Brian Eno kind of album on its own, but it matches the movie itself, but as a record, it plays pretty independently, and I love that too. There are, the guy's name is Vangelis or
Vengelis.
Yeah, Vangelis. That's who it is. Okay.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting too is like the way the movie and the music, they both use different cultures. So that's one of the things that like I pick up every time. Is like, oh, you can hear right here is an Asian aspect to it. Right here, there's like they're dipping into the Middle East aspect of it, and that is even hinting at the overall lore too, because like all of these cultures in the future that they've designed here are all sort of like a melting pot, much, much more than, the real world is at the moment.
Yeah.
And so you hear all these things and you see it in the advertising and the languages everybody's speaking.
He also is coming right off of Chariots of Fire for this too. Like a couple years ago, it was Chariots of Fire, and which also feels like a completely different style of music. And so it really does kind of fit. The way that he composes really does fit the movie. I love it. It's a great soundtrack.
Yeah. And the way it like sets that tone the moment the movie starts and you're like flying through the city and you're looking at the whole sort of cityscape there. It is. I didn't even ask Sarah to watch this with me because for one, I have before. She was walking like sort of through and I was like, Sarah, stop. Just come here and watch this 30 seconds of movie right here. And she did, and I was like, this is good stuff, right? She's like, it is. This is absolutely beautiful.
No.
And, I did like, just as you guys probably imagine, it's like, well, why it's so good is because,
and she's like, oh,
he's
God.
using miniatures there so that,
and then you
zooming in, and that's why it stood the test of time, going on the little bit of a soapbox, and I'm like, all right, you can get back to what you're
And then
doing.
you see Sarah run out the room.
Yeah, exactly.
But seriously, like it really, that's the reason this movie still looks so good, is because they were using miniatures for all of those shots. And even that shot where like the camera zooms in on the miniature and at some point there's a cut and you're zooming into the office that they're in for that interview. You could see people had to have been watching this in 1982 and saying to themselves, like, this guy is going to make some absolute bangers. This is good directing right now. Just those shots, box office results would say that not a lot of people were saying that, but I'm willing to bet some people were looking at that and just saying, man, this is beautiful.
Yeah. Coming from Alien to this too, like Alien is so claustrophobic. It's such a tight movie. Every single shot is intentional. And I feel like you go to Blade Runner, it's vast open spaces. He lingers a lot longer than I think he ever did in Alien. He takes his time to establish shots. Things are just like at a much slower pace visually than it is in Alien. And I just two opposite ends of the spectrum, but both very beautiful and both very great at like world building and telling a story. And I think the miniatures are really important to this too, but like even that scene where it's the Atari scene, it feels like the Atari scene. It's like the woman in the Japanese makeup and the Coca-Cola sign and all that stuff. I love that scene just because of how vibrant and beautiful and big it is, and it still looks great. Every single part of that scene looks phenomenal.
You know, one that stood out to me, when Deckard's walking into like the police office or the Blade Runner office or whatever the hell it is, and he's going to talk to like his boss there, and the camera starts up high.
Yeah.
And you're watching him walk in and walk across this like, you know, sort of warehouse type setup, and then it starts lowering, and you've lowered yourself into his manager's office. The camera like comes down, and you're like right at the table with him and this guy right as Deckard sits down. I'm just like, man, this is just good filmmaking. This time I rewound it and watched it a second time through. I was like, man, that's so good.
And that's something people like modern directors need to be better about. Like, frame your shots better, set things up better, not just like film here, put CGI blob in corner, you know? Setting the scene up like you just said, like that's an art, and I think I would like to see more directors strive for that.
Yeah. And like the fact that it was all one shot too, like so many of these are one shot, and like the one I was talking about before where it's one shot zooming in on this one location that all of a sudden turns into a different scene, and like where people are going to have to like go back and rewind and pause looking for the cuts and whatnot. Like, yeah, I think that, you know, I would absolutely love to see more of that, but it's just really, really cool filmmaking to see.
Yeah. It also really plays into his strengths as like a commercial director. Like he directed commercials. And so all of these shots where he's just like taking his time and zooming in, and like it's like he's just establishing the product and then like moving in and like showing that stuff. This is really, really good. He knows how to do it really well. I also think he plays with color so great in this movie. The colors and the way in which like water and the atmosphere of that city and like the decay of the city and the decay of morality and these people, it's just really well done. And that one scene where they're getting the street noodles, and everything surrounding it, all the water happening at the same time, feels dirty and cozy and like weird, and it's great.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned like the morality piece of it too, because that is like such an interesting approach to take to a movie where we're sort of like asked to follow this guy and engage with a protagonist as he hunts these replicants, which by all accounts are also human, right?
Yes. Yeah.
They're not robots. They are lab-grown humans. Right? That's kind of the idea here. They have to do these interviews with them because they can't tell just by looking at them that they're not really human. So we're asked to follow this protagonist as he hunts these, what by all accounts just seem like regular people down, gunning them down in the streets. And you quickly realize after a couple of these that like, hey, this might not be right. And that's what the audience is asked to do, and it's really interesting. And I think it really all comes home with Zora when we finally get to her, because she's presented as just this dancer, and she's complaining about barely making ends meet. She makes that comment about, you think I can afford a real snake with this job? And not too long later she figures out this dude's a Blade Runner, and she's trying to run away, and he's just she's not fighting. She's literally just trying to run away, and he guns her down in the streets. And so that one's a particularly like agonizing one to watch every time. But it's you're asked to do that, right? It's an interesting way to do this.
Yeah, the Daryl Hannah scene where Pris is a scary battle, I think, with him in that too. But Pris is like a kid. It's like a fully grown individual, but like has the brain of a child pretty much. Like he has to kill her. And she like kind of throws a fit like a little kid, and even in her death kind of throws a temper tantrum in her death. It's very strange, very unnerving. I think it meant to be.
Yeah, you're not supposed to feel good about that happening.
No, which is a weird thing for Harrison Ford. Like that character, like I said, it's just that tension between him and Ridley Scott throughout the movie, I think really plays into him playing that character well, where he's just like constantly uncomfortable, constantly unhappy with his situation, fallen in and out of luck really poorly. Yeah.
Completely agree with that.
So you've read the book for this, right?
Yeah.
So they never really explain it in the movie, but what they're doing in those interviews is they're testing for empathy, right?
Yes.
Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah.
Is that like the replicants are born with every single physical thing that we have, but there's certain emotional limitations that they have, and empathy. It seems like empathy is that, and they're asking about like, oh, you got a turtle that's on its back, and like things like that.
You got butterflies in a jar. What do you do with them? Or there's a wasp on your arm. Do you slap it? Stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're trying to discredit that test through Rachel, who is such an advanced version of this that they think that they can like prove that the test isn't real. That doesn't work, but inevitably it actually does. It proves that she is a replicant.
There's actually I'm gonna sidebar for a second here. There's a board game out there called Inhuman Conditions, just based on this movie, based on that test. It's a 2-player game where one person gets to roll. They're either human or replicant, or whatever they call in the game. And the person like reads some questions and tries to figure it out. And like your little role, you're supposed to decide how you react to certain questions to try to like kind of like subtly give yourself away and try to win the game. My buddy Josh Marks has it, and he told me about it. And we half played one thing because it was late at night when we tried it, but it was kind of cool that like it's not officially branded. It's not Blade Runner, the board game, but it's called Inhuman Conditions, and it's literally that test made into a game. And it was really cool that was the thing. So I just wanted to bring that up before I forgot about it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I get what it's a classic. Beautifully shot movie, great score, great acting, compelling story, compelling villains we'll go with. Just really good, just really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that was standing out to me going into this is how Adam had said him and Clara had tried to watch Blade Runner a few months back and didn't make it very far into it until they shut it off. And it does not surprise me.
No.
I do not think Blade Runner it's in our Sci-Fi Classics section, which by the definition we have set means it's the sci-fi-iest of the sci-fi, right? Like we're talking deep sci-fi in a lot of these cases, which is not something everybody is into. Like The Fifth Element, for example, is heavily, like you can see so much influence, but it's action movie first, right? This is talking about moral dilemmas. It's talking about philosophy. It's talking about, and it's all in this future that they're building, where it's not a beautiful place. It is in its own way, but it is an ugly place, right? And so it's not, just like some of these other things we watched, it's not the most palatable thing for A, modern audiences, but B, like just people that aren't normally into this sort of thing,
Yeah. It is a type of movie that is depressing. It is. It's a depressing movie when you look into it, because it asks a lot of questions that are not answerable, right? And it also presents those questions in a world that is very bleak and dystopian. Back in the 80s, it felt really like far away, but also relatively close. And now it also feels far away, but relatively close. And so it's a tough movie to introduce to people unless you really have the palate for it.
Right. I would say like same kind of vein as 2001. Dense world, questions about AI stuff. People still like, even as you said now today, like AI, people are just like, oh, whatever. Like it's not just a passing thing. It's been foretold. Foretold, is that the right word? Don't know. It's been coming for a long time, and like there's been people like, hey, is it bad? We don't know, and it's still relevant, which is really cool. But yeah, you said dense movies, like people can bounce off these pretty easy, I think.
Yeah. Did Holly try and watch it with you?
No, not after the 2001 experience.
Yeah. She's like, Sci-Fi Classic, you say?
Yeah,
I'm good.
That didn't go over well, but that's all right.
Well, then, maybe now that you've seen Blade Runner 2049, maybe that would be something that'd be more speed.
Right. If you want to jump into that right now, I was going to say, Blade Runner 2049, much more approachable, I think. It has the same concept, same idea, but it's just such a more approachable movie, I think. I liked it so much better. Like, I watched Blade Runner, I thought, that's a good movie. I enjoy that. I watched Blade Runner 2049, I'm like, holy crap, that's a great movie. That is fantastic. And the fact that it didn't do well in the theater, honestly, annoyed me. Kind of made me a bit angry, it was so good and so well done, and I just enjoyed the hell out of it. So yeah, Blade Runner 2049 is probably my favorite movie we watched this so far. I thought nothing was going to touch Close Encounters, but it's so very, very good.
Yeah, 2049 is great. I went to go see this with my wife, and when we walked out of the theater, she was like, you must have really liked that. And I was like, I don't know how much I liked it, but I definitely did. Like, it was one of those movies where I was like, I liked it a lot, but I don't know if this is one that's just going to be like continuously grow on me as I keep going. And I knew that I was going to love this movie as soon as they started doing that baseline test. Mm-hmm. It was like, what my favorite one was like, have you ever spent time in a cell? Cells. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been in an institution? Cells. Do they keep you in a cell? Cells. When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells. Interlinked. What's it like to hold someone you loved? Interlinked. It's like, that's the most intense scene. And it's also the same exact scene that happens in Blade Runner, where they're trying to do the eye test and find empathy. It's the same thing, but just on like a really, really well done scale. And Denis Villeneuve does a great job of filming that. This whole movie, I think, is just like taking the themes of Blade Runner and just like salting them, making a new dish and making it even better. And I if it wasn't for Dune 2, this would be my favorite Denis movie. But it's very close with Dune 2, and I love Dune 2. But this is really good.
Yeah.
I'm
a huge fan of this movie. So to contextualize how I saw it, this is the first movie that Sarah and I went and saw at the theater together.
Oh,
2017,
nice.
We had just met. We'd not been on many dates yet, and I was like, I'm going to see Blade Runner 2049. Do you want to go with me? And she went, and she said she had seen the original. She hadn't.
Yeah.
Liar.
And she said at the time, she said she liked it. I loved it. I was so into this thing, man, because by that point, I'd seen Prisoners, I'd seen Enemy, Sicario, Arrival. I'm on, this to come off of Arrival and then jump into this is like crazy, So I was super into his movies at that point, and so I loved this. I'm also disappointed it didn't do well, because if he had gotten a chance to do like a trilogy based off of this, where he gets to keep following on to those ideas, like, man, that could have been crazy.
Right.
What's funny is that following on from that, I would bring up for years how, we had gone and seen this together, and just in a joking way of like, just like, how lost were you for that whole movie? Like, and she's just like, I had no idea. A couple nights ago, as I'm watching this, she's like, oh yeah, I do remember this. She's like, I'm going to tell you now, I didn't actually like this movie.
That's fair. Yeah. Especially like a sequel like that, coming into a world with no prior knowledge. Like, if I would have, I'm glad I watched the first one before I saw this one. I think if I would have just jumped into this one, it would have been fine. But having that knowledge of the first one really makes it that much better.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do think that, like, considering like I think there's cases where, like, if you're going to talk about these and you're going to recommend it, like for Adam, I would say Clara probably still wouldn't like this one. Adam might like this one.
He might.
It's not that far off quality wise, I would say, from like Interstellar. they're two very different movies, but they have a lot of similarities too.
Yeah.
And science fiction wise, they get a little bit into the weeds together, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think that I could definitely recommend this to some people without them seeing the first one, just because the first one's a cult classic, but I just don't find for everyday people it's all that, like you say, approachable. But this, on the other hand, I mean, it's got so many things going for it. It's, from a visual perspective, one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
I agree.
So many of these shots are just absolutely stunning. And I mean, it won the Oscar for cinematography and visual effects. So you know going in there that this is going to be just an absolutely beautiful thing to see. And Sarah even said that too. She did think it was a beautiful movie. You know, there's a ton to like from that perspective of it. But she was like, at the end of the day, it just isn't her type of movie. Which I understand now more than ever.
Yes.
That, like, you know, this is something today I would still ask her to go to the movies with me for, but I'd also give her the out of, like, hey, if you want to fall asleep in your seat, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's just
will.
learning your partner, man.
Yeah, exactly. But early on in our relationship, I made a few of those mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we went to see Hereditary together.
Oh, no.
That was a mistake. We watched Suspiria remake together. And she said she traces it back to those two movies are the reason she can't watch horror movies anymore.
Sure.
I was like, yep, well, that's my fault.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I'll take
That.
that.
Yeah. That makes
But anyways, so to give a little background on this, it's exactly 30 years after the last one. So that one's 2019. This one's 2049. Going into this, I did watch the 3 prologues that are meant to sort of bridge the gap between these two things. I'll tell you right now, they don't do that.
Okay.
If that's what their goal was, that's what it said on like the packaging of like, they bridge the gap and help prepare you for this. They don't do that whatsoever. So the first one is called Blade Runner Blackout 2022. And so it's an anime, it's 15 minutes long, and it's got Edward James Olmos in it for, you know, he gets a couple lines and then he's not in it anymore. It tells basically the story of the blackout that they talk about where they're in the documents area of the Jared Leto's building there, and he's like, oh, we lost all of the data before that. So this tells the story of how that happened.
Okay.
And it accomplishes telling that story. I didn't think it was all that engaging. But you know how I am about anime too.
It's animated.
So the next one is called 2036 Nexus Dawn. It's got Jared Leto and Benedict Wong in it, and it's basically meant to tell how they changed the laws. So it is essentially a 6-minute meeting between the government and the company, Benedict Wong being on the side of like the local government or whatever, Earth government. I don't know. It doesn't explain how the policy makers work and all that, but it's basically a meeting between all of them. And it kind of feels like a deleted scene, you know? And then 2048, Nowhere to Run is the next one, and it's 5 minutes long, and it's basically how they figured out Dave Bautista and his, like, how they figured out who and where he is. And that was pretty cool, but it also felt like a deleted scene, you know? So it takes place 1 year before this, and it was cool. That was probably my favorite of them. It's got some action in it, and, you know, it gives you a little bit more Dave Bautista, which I think in this movie he's so good in that you like kind of want more Dave Bautista. Sure. You don't necessarily want more Jared Leto, right? You feel like, hey, I got the perfect amount of Jared Leto.
They really do. Like just enough that you don't want to know.
Less is more with him right now in this movie.
Just overall.
Overall, I agree. Yeah,
but I will say, you know, with that being said, I do think Jared Leto is very good in this. Actually,
I agree. There are very few movies where I'm like, great job, Jared Leto. And this is one of them where I'm like, he does a great job. He's fine. I want less of him. Still, even in this movie, I was like, I could deal with like a couple minutes cut away from just like his weird facial expressions and his long, like, glaring body. So I'm happy that it's not longer than that. But yeah, I mean, he's fine. The casting in this film is perfect Denny. Like it's exactly what you would imagine a Denny casting is. It's like people who you have preconceived notions about who they are, and they completely flip it. And also people who are relatively unknown for the time, but later on in their careers, like explode. Anna de Armas in this, I think this is one of her relatively early movies, and she does a great job. I can't think of her name. I think it's Mackenzie something.
Mackenzie Davis.
Yes. Mackenzie Davis is in this. This is before she made it huge on the Black Mirror episode, and then before like a couple of her other projects. She's great in this too. I really love Dave Bautista. He does a great job in this. It's just really great casting. And this is the beginning of the renaissance for Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's rebirth back into pop culture again. So, yeah.
You said it. Great cast all around. My man, David Dastmalchian, shows up. I was happy about that.
Yeah.
I was like, heck yeah, let's go, David. He doesn't have the biggest role, but he just kills it like he always does. Robin Wright is like the...
Robin Wright.
Yeah, she's great in that. Such a good cast, as you know, but like they all perform well. Anna de Armas, I don't think I've ever seen her better than she was in this. Like I thought she was great. She was scene stealing as she's supposed to be. Ryan Gosling's holographic wife. I don't know how exactly that works, but you know. And as you said, to Mackenzie Davis, this was unfortunately, like I think she had this come out. They kind of bombed, and then Terminator, one of them.
Dark Fate.
It was a Dark Fate. Okay, I don't know. Those three movies all just mashed together for Terminator, unfortunately. But yeah, she was great in it, and I had to like Google who she was. That's why I knew immediately. I'm like, who is she? Why do I know her? But yeah, just a great cast, and as you said, Denis Villeneuve just knows how to fill roles with the right people.
Yeah, and this is the best performance of Ryan Gosling's career, in my opinion. This is it. He does a really good job. There are scenes where he's just kind of straight, doesn't like have any facial expressions. There's a couple scenes where he's just screaming and like really...
when he finally breaks,
yeah.
when he learns about his memory.
He might be human.
Yeah, that's fantastic. When he's in the meeting and they're like, oh, it's really not you. And like you could see his face just shatter. Like, oh, it's fantastic. I mean, this is just one of... I think it is Ryan Gosling's best performance. It's great.
I will say, now that you've mentioned that, I think there's two decisions in this movie that are genius decisions. They really, really make the movie. The first one is not addressing whether Deckard is a replicant or not.
Yes. Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve's choice to just not feed into it at all, because in the way of them having a baby, it does not matter if one or both of them are a replicant. Yeah. It doesn't impact the story.
The fact that they made a
so
child.
It doesn't need to be addressed. The second decision is making Kay not be Deckard and Rachel's child. I think that's a perfect decision. And I remember at the time when I saw it at the movies thinking like, oh man, that's really too bad. I really wanted him to be. But then like realizing later that like, no, he shouldn't be. And the fact that like they show all of the replicants and they're like, we all thought we were, I think is just like, it shows that like he's going through this right now. Everybody went through that because they all have these memories baked in.
Yeah.
And then that leads into, I know we're fast forwarding through the whole review, but it leads into his hero moment at the end where he shows up to save the day, even though he knows he's not the chosen one to say, you know, he still makes the right decision to help out the right cause.
Yeah, I love that. There are so many. The first movie had this just feeling of like, what does it mean to be human? And I think this movie is more about like, what is identity in general? Like, what does it mean to be not human, but a person? Right. Like, what is personhood? What is being a person mean? And I think the choice to introduce Joi in this, Anna de Armas's character, is super, super important to this whole thing, because now there's a third layer, right? There's humans, replicants, and then this AI thing on top of it. And they're all trying to do the same thing, which is like trying to build community, trying to come together, trying to be people. And to varying degrees, it works. But the scene where Joi is killed is no less heartbreaking than watching any other character die. Like, Kay loves Joi, Joi loves Kay. They build this connection, and it's really powerful. And so when that happens, that's like a heartbreaking moment to me. And in other movies with a less talented director, it would have just been kind of a throwaway thing,
Right.
but he really focuses on it and builds it throughout the whole movie. And it's slow. And I think that's one of the takeaways when you look at reviews of this movie is it's a plotting kind of blockbuster movie, which is why it didn't do well, but it needs to take its time to build those characters in such a way so that moments like that happen with such emotional like impact.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's crazy to think that there was a scene where like essentially just the remote gets smashed, but it makes you feel like it makes you actually care.
Yeah. That's always been, I think that's one of the hardest hitting deaths for me just in cinema. It's just like, wow, like
Because it was quick too.
so fragile, gone, and
Just like what?
never to return. Yes.
Yeah, that one really hit me the first time I saw this movie, and it just it hits surprisingly hard, right? Because you don't think it's going to, because she's, I don't know, it's framed in such an interesting way where you don't think you're going to have an emotional connection to that character, and so once you do, it's really snuck up on you.
Yeah. And he even plants it in there towards the middle of the movie to be like, you don't have to have this emotional connection. She's the same as every other one of these Joys out there. And here's an example of like another Joi. And, but still it hits hard because he does a great job of building it. Yeah.
She even says it herself. There's a scene where like he's talking about downloading her into whatever it was. He's like, if this gets destroyed, that's the end of you. She's like a real girl. That's what I want. Pretty much. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm like, that's good. It's really good. And then after she meets her end, there's a scene where he's on like a bridge, I think, and there's like a giant ad for Joys that comes over and like interacts with him, and it just it's heartbreaking, like, because it's not his Joi he's seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful scene too.
I was all over the
Gorgeous.
advertising.
Yeah.
You mad at yourself for not seeing this at the theater, Dan?
Yeah, I am.
It was so good to see it at the theater, I'm telling
I
you, man.
agree. Like I said before, Tron Legacy was like probably the best thing I've seen in the theater. But like, I remember going with Rachel to see this and just sitting there with both of our jaws dropped, like watching this, like even the scene where they're in the desert and it's just all orange. Everything is orange. You're like, what? How does he do that? Like it's just one color, varying degrees of that color, but it's beautiful.
Yep.
It was overwhelming.
That was his practice for Dune.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I do think if this movie was successful, I do not think we'd have Dune.
No, they would have spun sequels off his past. There would have been a whole series franchise.
Yeah, I believe I saw an interview with him a while ago where he said that he had plans for other ones, and it was just really disappointing how he had to abandon all of it because it underperformed, which is too bad because, like, I know you said you like Dune 2 a lot more, but I like this one. I think in many ways he has honed his skills much more on Dune 2. You know, it knocks so many things out of the park from a visual style, you know, like when you go back to the Harkonnens planet and everything, and it's a valid criticism that, like, the pacing of that one is much more, like, thumping from scene to scene. Like, it takes you through the movie with a lot to keep your attention the whole time, where this one really takes a lot of moments where you're just watching things happen, you know, where
Yes.
you're just admiring cityscapes and things like that for a while. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, for me, I just like that more, you know?
Right. Perfect example of that is when he's at that outdoor eating area and the character Mackenzie Davis plays, whose name escapes me, I'm sorry, like comes up to him, like they initially make contact with him. And that scene is like 5 minutes and there's like one spoken word, but it's just like, it sets the whole thing up so well that it just really works. And like, I think that's what you're saying is like, this movie takes its time.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was a complaint. I think you said that, but it was a complaint that people had.
Yeah.
I like it. But I like
do
that
too.
aspect of it. I think that, like, I wouldn't change that aspect of it, you know, if
I
given the
agree.
choice.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like 2001 does, where I feel like I am
that's
in
painful.
2001: A Space Odyssey
Yeah.
for a long damn time.
That's your whole
This
thing.
movie does not feel like that.
No, it doesn't feel like 3 hours, you
No.
know, but it does feel long.
Yeah. I think too, like, there's in the first one, there's all of this stuff about like urban decay and decay of morality. And in this, it's just environmental decay and like widespread decay.
Yeah.
And he does such a great job of just taking scenes and showing like how nature is revolting against humanity too. And so you see all of that water crashing against Los Angeles, going out to the desert. There's, Dave Bautista's scene, which is just like this.
It really,
barren.
even just the water crashing in that scene, it really is just so beautiful to watch.
Yeah. And it's just another character that is just trying to, it's like a broken character that's just trying to like bash into something. It's unbelievable the kind of work that he does, where the same thing that Ridley Scott did to try to develop Los Angeles of that time, the world that Denny does here is just equally impressive in a vastly different way.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And the way he's telling all the stories of that lore through just small pieces of the puzzle, like the scene where he figures out that wood is rare.
Yes.
Just that one detail tells so much backstory right there. You don't have wood. You don't have plants. You don't have animals.
Nothing.
There's no animals left.
Yeah, but they're all fake.
Like the protein farm that Dave Bautista's working on at the beginning. He works on a protein farm because they don't have animals or plants.
Yes.
You eat bugs.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't want to know what they're doing with those, but
You're eating the bugs. You're eating them bugs.
yeah, they're basically like grinding up mealworms and mixing them with things and growing everything else in a lab, growing whatever they can in a lab. But like, so it tells a lot of that story. And like the tree at the beginning,
Yes.
the tree is there for decoration, and it's being held up by the wires around it because it's dead, and they wanted to still have a tree in their yard. So that's what the solution is in there. All of those details and that attention to details and the ability to like lay those small little Easter eggs in there that all feed into that narrative. It's really impressive.
Yeah. In the book, there's a whole thing about how I think it's Deckard who's trying to get a pet. I think it's like an owl or a parrot or something like that. It's he wants to buy an animal, a real animal. I don't know if he does. I haven't read the book in a long time, but that was kind of missing from Blade Runner, the movie with Ridley Scott. In this, it's there. Like, he brings that kind of storytelling to this world where, like, there's a lack of a lot of different things. And there's the bubble that the daughter lives in, which is just, like, protected from the outside world. And, like, it's just... I don't know, all of that kind of environmental storytelling that Ridley Scott did in the first movie, it's done here in a little bit of a different way, but just as impactful. I'd say even more in this movie at times. Like, I think it does a really great job. I do want to, like, the baseline test is so important for this movie. I think it's also so intense, and it's meant to kind of like, as a viewer, I think that is a thing that is intentionally done to kind of bring you out of looking at the world with this like awestruck like reality, or like take you from thinking about what happened and then kind of jar you into the moment of being with Kay as he's going through this stuff. And I think that is something that doesn't happen in movies often, where the director makes an intentional choice in order to like kind of shock the audience in the same way at the same time that's happening with the character through like an interrogation moment. Right. And it's done really, really well. And I don't know if this is like hearkening back to his time with Prisoners or like Sicario or things like that, where he just takes what he learned on that and through that script and then throws it here. But it's really, really well done. That is probably my favorite part of this whole movie, is just like that baseline test. It's fantastic.
The poem that's based on is really intense too. I was reading that while I was watching this, and I was just like, damn, that's crazy. I was going to write it down, but I didn't.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that. Interlinked.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's very intense, and you're right that it did remind me of Prisoners. I love Prisoners. Prisoners is such a good movie.
Yeah.
And Sicario.
Yeah, they have both.
Sarah loves Sicario. Her and I have watched that multiple times together.
Isn't it usually when they do the test too, is like after something traumatic happens to him, they do that test on him? So like the character, like you can tell the character himself, just like, I don't want to be doing this right now, but they make him. That's just how that world is, you know?
Yeah. And he literally does go back to like kind of his house, his room is just awful. It's like a really tiny, like blank walls. It's just sad.
The only thing he has is Joi.
Hallway.
Yeah, exactly.
I see what they did there. Very subtle.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Joi too is interesting because in 2017, for what it's worth, some of these things that we talk about now, like you didn't have AI on your phone in 2017. So like it was interesting to see all of the different things they do with her, where like she's listening to every single thing that happens and referencing things when she wasn't like out and about, and she's just like, oh, you know, you talked to that girl today for a long time.
I thought that you liked her.
And yeah. And when the call comes in right as they're about to kiss, and like she pauses, and then like the call pops up over here, like I just thought that stuff was a really cool way of, like, it's a logical progression of the technology we have today. And it seems even more like the fact that like almost 10 years after this came out, 9 years, it still is a logical progression of where we've been, you know, compared to where we were in 2017.
Right. Obviously, you could see that technology popping up next year and be like, okay, that makes sense.
Right. And it's interesting, too, because, you know, you've read, I'm sure you guys have read about, like, people falling in love with AI online already. And, you know, I'm sure there's companies coming out with AI girlfriends.
It'll be gross for a while.
You know, it's all coming together. It might have seemed a little bit far-fetched back in 2017. Probably not that far-fetched because we're kind of getting there. But, like, it seems very real now. Like, it seems like if this business doesn't exist today, it will within the next year or two, right?
100%. Yeah, it's gross.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to be gross. It's going to be real gross for a while.
Yeah. It's also just strange, like, this movie has the replicants hunting replicants, and that's why the baseline test is there. And I think one of the things that I fail to remember as I'm watching this is, like, they're killing their own kind to prevent their own kind from, like, they're just, like, they're killing their own kind as they're going along with it. And in the first movie, Deckard, human or not, believed he was human and was killing the replicants. It's a different whole perspective. And so the decay of morality is even like hitting into the Blade Runners here. And so on top of the environmental decay, the industrial decay, the moral decay, it's like all of these things that Denny takes from this movie and then like magnifies times 10. It's a tough movie. This is a tough thing to like expect any director to do. And he does it really, really well. And even though it didn't succeed box office wise, this is still, I think, like close to a masterpiece of a movie, in my opinion. It's really, really great.
Yeah. And one of those common themes of a lot of sci-fi movies is like the hubris of humans, right? And that's on display here with that exact topic of them thinking that they could control, that they've created this new version of replicants, despite every single version they've created inevitably rising up. They are convinced they've gotten rid of all the laws by this movie banning replicants, and they've convinced themselves and everybody around them that this version they can control. And by the end of the movie, we realize that they cannot.
They never had control.
Yes.
That was
I'm sure they haven't learned that lesson.
The old Jurassic Park. They never had control. It was the illusion of control.
Yep.
It's fantastic. In a time where I think everybody thinks Christopher Nolan is like the best director, enter Denny with this movie. I think this is just as good visually as Interstellar. It's just as good storytelling wise as Oppenheimer at times. Like, this is great. This is a really, really good movie.
Yeah. I mean, on that note, I would love to see Christopher Nolan do like a futuristic movie like this. And I guess that's kind of his Interstellar. It's a different version of the future, but like, I don't know.
I agree. I think the problem that I have with Interstellar, which keeps it from being such a fantastic movie, is the ET problem that we talked about earlier versus Blade Runner, is that the end of Interstellar is so saccharine and sweet and positive, with like love conquers all. Love was the thing that like saved us and reunited us and all that. And
Dan hasn't seen Interstellar yet.
I didn't really spoil anything by saying that.
I was just catching you before you do.
That is the thing that separates me from thinking Interstellar is great, like one of the best movies of all time, versus this and Blade Runner, which really do sit grounded in, I'm not here to tell a story and to make the audience feel good. I'm here to tell a story and not make the audience feel good.
Right.
Yeah.
And one last thing I will say too, just popped in my head. This is how you do a legacy sequel. You take the original, you honor it, you build on it, and you do your own thing with it. Like, you can't just be like, make the same movie shot for shot again. And this is, you can tell it's the same world, but it's so much, what's the word? I don't want to say better, but it's just so much, it's a different story in the same world. You can tell they're interlinked, but you built on it. What I'm trying to
Interlinked.
Yeah.
Within cells and
Within cells. They took the original, respected it, and went from there. Used the same world. That's what you gotta do for legacy sequels. Can't just do like most recent Jurassic movie where you just like, hey, let's just do that second movie again. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Man.
The thing is the choice to have Denis Villeneuve direct this, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, you could have easily chosen any old blockbuster director, but they chose the director of Prisoners,
Arrival.
Sicario, and what probably convinced them
Arrival.
that he could do sci-fi, Arrival. Arrival is one that blows me away at how emotional it gets towards the end of that movie. Like, it making me cry sneaks up on me every time.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that's the decision that is really so smart in this, is that you look at it like, okay, he did Prisoners, he did Enemy, he did Sicario, he did Arrival. Every one of those movies is good. Let's give him this huge blockbuster and see what he does with that.
Sure.
And he comes out the gate with 2 hours and 44 minutes of just sci-fi masterpiece. And that's the big thing, right? And that's kind of a similar trajectory as Christopher Nolan, He Prisoners is like Christopher Nolan's Prestige, and that's like his Prisoners. Maybe Arrival would be Christopher Nolan's
Batman Begins.
Inception.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
The Dune movies are Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, right?
Yes. Yes.
Unless he comes out the gate with that James Bond movie, if that ends up happening.
Right.
You heard that was a thing?
I heard there's a
that would be crazy. I'm just going to touch on Dune 2 real quick before we go anywhere. Dune 2 is probably a top 3 film for me of all time. I know we did our top 5s, but like any given Sunday, those top 10 movies shuffle around. I love Dune 2 so much. I think one of the things that Dune 2 does better than Blade Runner 2049 is, you mention it, like there are times where Blade Runner just kind of like sits and lets you be in the world, and Dune 2 runs you at full speed through the wall in that movie all the time, and it establishes like character really well. And I think the big thing that he learned from Blade Runner was like, you can establish shots and you can establish environments and characters. You can do it all at once. You don't have to do it individually at sometimes. And so there's a scene that I think of when I think of the second Dune movie where Paul is walking in and the sandworm is like flying in the background, and then the camera pans and he's walking through a crowd to go in and to drink the sandworm blood. And that whole shot is a huge departure from what he does in Blade Runner 2049, where it just takes some time to like, here's the environment, here's what happens with the character, here's the story. And it's not a bad thing that he does that. It's just like he's learned so much. And then Dune 2 is just like, boom. I love that movie. I love it a lot. And I still think it's probably neck and neck, maybe a little bit ahead, 2049. Yeah.
Yeah. All valid points. I think that like it's interesting to wonder if he knew what he knows today and he made Blade Runner 2049, what that movie looks like.
I agree.
It could be,
yeah.
It could be like a 40 minutes shorter or something. He just like zing, 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 zing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be shorter. Dune
it
Part
might be
2
5
is
hours.
It might be 5 hours
longer.
too, but it'd just be still like
It's longer than 2049
That's true.
by 2 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, I guess that would be the point with it, is it doesn't feel longer, right?
Yeah. And we'll see. The third Dune comes out this year, apparently. Even though we haven't seen a trailer, it's supposed to come out this year. So
I think we haven't seen
Timothy
many.
Chalamet said that a trailer is coming shortly, that they're all finished and a trailer's on its way.
Doomsday is coming this year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's supposed to come
December?
this December. It's supposed to release the same weekend as Dune 3.
Dune
remember?
3, yeah.
Very cool.
They're both fighting over that weekend.
They're gonna just combine the names again, like Doomsday or something.
That's what they said. Doomsday.
Did they really?
Doomsday.
Oh,
That's what they called it. Yeah.
damn it! That wasn't clever. I'm sad that it worked.
I'm going to spend 12 hours in the movies that day,
Yeah,
I
apparently.
guess. I don't know. Oh,
I had seen that they might have to split Doomsday up into 2 movies because they've filmed so much.
That checks out. There's a lot.
there's so many people in that movie. Like, when they showed the shot of James Marsden in the Cyclops outfit, I was like, yeah, I'm bored. Yeah, 1, yes. 2, give me 30 minutes of that. Like, I'm ready for 30 minutes of him just walking in the outfit.
I just want that.
Yeah.
I just want that movie. Give me 3 hours of that. I'm in.
100%. That'd be great. Oh,
That's.
Yeah.
I got unreasonably hyped when I saw him in the costume shooting the eye lasers. I'm like, my God, that's what I've wanted for years.
me too.
It's going to be a good
Oh.
year. It's going to be a good year for movies.
Yeah.
So any closing thoughts on Blade Runner 2049?
Yeah, just really impressed with it. I want to watch it again. I think that's the best thing to say about it. Like,
It's very good. I have it on 4K. I hadn't even watched the 4K disc yet, but I finally watched it on the 4K player on the new TV, and I was just like, holy shit.
yeah, I bet you
This
that's awesome.
is one of the most stunning experiences. It's so beautiful, and it's just my type of movie,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's got
Music.
that cyberpunk feel to it. It's futuristic. It's bright. It's got, bright blues and magentas. And I'm kind of in my, put ambient videos on YouTube playing in the background of my life,
Yes.
era right now. So that movie is like just that. Like, yeah, give it to me. I'll watch 3 hours of ambient Blade Runner sounds. Like,
Checks out.
so right now, other media for Blade Runner, we've got comics, we got video games, we got board games. There was a CGI Blade Runner series that ran for 13 episodes called Blade Runner Black Lotus. Did either of you see that?
Didn't know
Well,
it
I
was a
know
thing.
you haven't, Dan, but... So it's got Jessica Henwick in it.
Oh.
Takes place in 2032. But coming up, we have Blade Runner 2099, which is a 6-episode limited series with Michelle Yeoh and Hunter Schafer
Oh, cool.
of
Wow.
Euphoria and Cuckoo fame. So
Interesting.
I think we're supposed to get that this year too. So that's exciting.
Like I said, I did like the first movie quite a bit. I get why it's got it standing, but the second one I think just much better. Not to belabor a point.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Nothing wrong with that. Well, thank you guys for joining. I know it was a long time coming for this episode. I feel like I teased this like 7 times.
We got
It
there.
was like, next week we're doing this, and then next week would come, and we didn't do it. It
Well,
was like
we had the holiday
kidding,
times.
guys.
Holiday times is always chaos.
the holiday times and then travel,
Mm-hmm.
one thing after another. It's just, it's been a busy couple of months, but I appreciate you guys getting on and doing this.
Of course.
One battle after another, for real, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you, viewers out there, for catching another episode of the Bark Knight Podcast. Follow, subscribe, and leave a rating to keep the reels turning. And visit barknightmedia.com to find the latest episodes, blog articles, and to sign up for our newsletter. Until next time, keep celebrating great stories on and off the screen.